Hey everybody. Hello, hello, hello. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be able to have this conversation with you today. We're going to give me a second. Um, I always forget I have to mute my live on YouTube so that it doesn't talk with me. This is all still kind of new doing this live on YouTube. So I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad you are with me. And I'm really happy to be having this conversation. How you doing, Fran? It's good to see you. I saw your email today. It was really good. You're getting really good with the emails. I'm loving them. So I just wanted to point that out. You're doing good. I love seeing you and seeing you be seen and feel more comfortable now with sharing your content. It's a good thing. So I'm gonna stop saying now because I go to Toastmasters and we count those, and I've learned so much to just take a pause and not say them. So I don't know why I'm going so crazy with them today, but I'm gonna fix that right now. There will be no more. Yes, I saw that. I saw that. And I saw the resend. It's still good emails. I was really proud of you. So today we are talking about. Thank you, Fran. Today we're going to be talking about owning your strengths and differences because it's really important. And so many times we get stuck trying so hard to fit in and to conform to what society is expecting from us that we ignore the power we have in our own self. We ignore our uniqueness and the very things that make us remarkable. And so I want us to get out of that habit and begin to really own who we are because we're powerful. And what makes us so powerful, what helps us become so good is our strengths. And what makes our strengths happen is our differences. And that sounds a little weird when you think of it like that. But here's the thing, your differences give you different perspectives. It lets you see the world differently so that you can come up with unique solutions to problems that other people wouldn't think about, right? And so, for instance, for me, being invisible and hiding in plain sight because of being gay made me look at so many things differently. And it made me change how I perceived the world and how I perceived my place in the world. And so, how I dealt with problems was handled from that unique perspective that many people who didn't have those same issues didn't have to deal with. Same thing when you're thinking about women. So I grew up in an era where women didn't own property and women couldn't get credit. And there were so many things women couldn't do because the laws were not there. And I mean, the most jobs you got were as a secretary or a nurse, right? You didn't get real jobs that you might want to do. I remember in high school where, not in high school, in junior high, I wanted to take shop and I wanted to take woodworking, but my choices, my options were home economics or typing. And I didn't want to do any of that, right? And so women thought of things and got around things differently because they had to deal with it from a different perspective. So you couldn't go out as a woman and say, well, I want to get this credit card in my name and I want to buy a house in my name and I want to do all of these things, you had to figure out workarounds that could allow you to make that happen. And so it was a different way of dealing, and you learned ways to come up with new solutions because you had to deal with those different perspectives. And I talk about this a lot in my book. You wanted to take shop too? I hear that. I hear that. I know there was a lot of women that wanted to do that, but we couldn't do it. And so we really welcomed the whole Title IX thing. And so when Now came out, they came out in the 60s, but I joined it in the 70s because I was adult then. And we were very excited because they were talking about women being in the workplace, women being able to have equal opportunities, and women being able to get equal pay for doing the same job. And yet they wanted you to conform. You had to go in and you had to look like, the male dress standard was a suit and tie. So women wore skirt suits and ties to fit in. We set in, we carried out briefcases. In order to be an executive, we blended. And it was also a disconnect because how black women came into the movement and how women came into the movement was also very different. And yes, we're still way off that mark of equal pay. And how everything came in was different because black women had pretty much always worked. Even though we weren't treated equally or fairly, we had always had to work. And so there was still a disconnect in how we saw the world. But there were strengths in both of those perspectives. There were solutions that we could, as women, provide that men hadn't thought about because they didn't do the shopping, right? When you're talking about supermarkets and stores and working in those businesses and advertising, those guys didn't do the shopping. They didn't do the laundry. They didn't cook the food. So they didn't know what to say. And so we had women that did, but they wanted to fit in. And so we had commercials like, you're a woman and you could bring home the bacon and cook it up in a pan and never ever let the guy forget he's a man, right? All of those things was not that you get to be equal. Now you just get to do more. So now you get to work and take care of the family and cook the food. You don't get to have an equal division of the work. We just looked at how we were going to fit it. And we didn't look at what it means to own our strengths and differences. And this is one of the principles I talk about in my book, because when you are becoming visible, being able to own your strengths and your differences gives you that remarkability factor that makes you unique. It's the thing that helps you stand out. Because, for instance, if you grow up and you have a stutter and you have to talk to people and you know they're going to be impatient because you're stuttering, you learn different ways to get your point across that people that don't stutter don't have to deal with, right? If you have attention deficit disorder or compulsive, disorder, you have to deal with the world very differently than if you don't have those things. And they give you a unique way of looking at things and seeing them that lets you offer different solutions. It lends to your strength because you're recognizing your differences. And so it's really important to do that because here's the thing: getting visible is hard. Finding the courage to be seen is hard, right? And so why not do the things you're really good at? Why not do it with the things you feel strong in, that you're comfortable in. Because a huge part of why we don't want to be visible is that we're afraid of making mistakes. We're afraid of falling on our face and looking foolish. But you're so much less likely to do that if you're comfortable with what you're doing. If you love and enjoy and have what you're doing as your strength, right? Then you're going to be so much better at doing it, and you don't have to worry so much about flubbing because you feel comfortable. So when you can stand in your strengths, and those are often made up and come about because of your differences. When you can own those things, you get it all, right? I go to this publicity boot camp periodically. I went last week to the real boot camp, the mastery, and she's having a challenge right now. But one of the things I love about her is she's like, use everything you are. Don't just limit yourself to trying to be the norm. Don't say, well, I'm this kind of coach and limit it to that, right? You can say, for my case, I'm a Black woman, I'm a lesbian, I'm an elder, I'm disabled, and I can put all of those things together and say, these are the things that, and I'm a parent, I'm a mom. I can take all of these things and say, these are the things of who I am. All of these differences together make me the unique person that I am. And I learned a whole lot because I came from being invisible because of things I was struggling with, right? The differences that I was having problems with, that I had to come to grips with. When I owned those, it made me better at who I was and what I was doing and more capable of being seen. And that's true for all of us, right? When we can look at everything we are and use that to our advantage, look at the perspectives that it has given us to be able to shape our own lives and make our own lives work in the world. That's what gives us our strengths. That's what makes how you coach or serve your clients or whatever it is you do different from what anyone else does. So everybody can come and say they're a mindset and visibility coach. Excuse me, is what I say. But what they can't say, what everybody can't say, is how they come about it, right? Because a lot of people talk to you about visibility and then they spend all the time talking to you about marketing. And you and I know it isn't about the marketing. It's about finding that courage to be seen. It's about being able to put ourselves out there and get beyond the scare factor of how hard it is. All the strategies and all of the techniques don't mean anything until we're willing to implement them. And that takes getting over the fear or being able to do it in spite of the fear. That takes courage. And so when I'm talking to you about visibility, I'm talking to you about finding that courage, right? And that's a whole different ball game because my strengths and my differences came from being invisible. So I understand it. And when you look at your strengths and differences, you're going to see what makes you unique too and what you offer. And it's going to help you so much in being able to really step out and be in the limelight. So that's what I want to talk about today. I hope you guys got something good out of this message. And the thing I want to say to you is I'm going to be offering a Visibility Builders Club toward the end of April. And so I'm going to be sending out information so you guys, if you're interested, you can get on the waiting list. And if you want to promote it, you can get on there and earn some recurring commissions. And I'm really, really excited about it. And I think you guys are going to love it. So I'll be talking to you all soon. I hope you have a great, 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 wonderful rest of your day. I love you guys. Bye.